right, everybody. Welcome to episode number 14 of The Hidden Window. Hope everyone had a good few weeks. Bob out there in the bunker. Hope you're doing good. So, as we do, we start off with some lighthearted news. This one, unfortunately, at least for me, was a bit of a big downer. July 4th is coming up, and one of the things, I actually watch it every year, is the Nathan's hot dog eating contest out there on Coney Island. Now, for those of you who actually want to wager on these things, you could even do that, which was a lot of fun, because the winner every year, was Joey Chestnut. He's won since 2016. I think his record is like 79 hot dogs and buns, which I think should kill a person, but he's still there. So the MLE, Major League Eating. Yes, there's a Major League of everything. So MLE has its own association. And I decided this year that, you know what? They're giving old Joey Chestnut the heave-ho, which is really disappointing because I look forward to old Joey. So what happened? I'm thinking, why did they give him Joey the boot? Well, Joey signed up with, remember that Impossible Burger that I think nobody eats? Well, they need a marketing spokesman, so they decide, let's get Joey in there. And they must be paying Joey big bucks because Nathan's, who runs the hot dogs and contest, obviously is a meat product. They're like, we can't have a guy that we go on and we sponsor that's promoting, vegan hot dogs. It doesn't look good. We're trying to sell hot dogs, damn it. So they told Joey, you know what? See you later. Almost like, remember Michael Jordan, Nikes. What if Michael Jordan, wanted to work for Keds or something? They're saying, listen, Mike, you work for us and Nike. It's you can't be wearing Keds, okay? So Joey said, no, I want to, do what I do. And he said, okay, you want to go down that path? Sayonara, see you later. So this year, folks, it's an end of an era. No more Joey Chestnut at the Coney Island Nathan's hot dog eating contest this July 4th. Then, so I was going down a totally different path for the main segment of today's show. I was going to do something on the Ark of the Covenant, which I believe is in Ethiopia. I love Ethiopia. I think it's a fascinating country. As a matter of fact, we have a very large listening audience in Ethiopia. For those of you out there in Ethiopia, thank you for listening. Appreciate it. And if you have any great sage advice about the Ark of the Covenant, which I believe, again, is in Ethiopia, email me, okay? And I'll look at it and I'll put it in the show because you guys are living it for a fact. So where I veered off from this today was my daughter lives in Germany with her two small children and her husband, who's in the military, stationed at a base there. And we were just chit-chatting and we're talking about food. And she says, well, Dad, we have a lot of different food here in Germany than we have it in the United States. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. How come? Germany's very strict. They don't allow all the chemicals. They don't allow artificial ingredients, non-GMO. They ban it. I'm like, well, that's really cool. So she can get food from the base, which is U.S., and has every known chemical known to man like we have here in the United States. But when it goes to the German market, everything's non-GMO. Everything's like, wow, that's really great. So I started researching it. There must be the rates of cancer and the rates of diabetes and everything must be dramatically lower in Europe because these GMO and all these additives we're doing here can't be good for you. Well, there wasn't. And I think it's only because the data is not there yet. I think down the road it will be. But right now, 2024, there's no difference between the U.S. and Germany, Europe in general, for rates of cancer and diabetes. So I'm saying that's really odd. There should be, but there's not. So I started looking at where's the common link. The common link that both continents have is artificial sweeteners. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But first, I have to wrap my hand around basic food knowledge. I am not an expert in this. My wife knows a lot more about this than I do. She's very big into nutrition where, I just do what she says. I don't know much about it though. In the United States, we have, I know, every chemical known to man. You look at a candy bar, you look at some of these cereals that I don't even know if they're food anymore, but they have so many chemicals in them. Red dye 7, blue dye 48. It's ridiculous. There's over, and I believe it's an underestimate, 3,000 chemicals in the foods in the United States today. And it has to be more than that. I'm sure it is. You ever hear xanthan gum? Starts with X, xanthan gum? Well, that is an expo polysaccharide. I looked about what xanthan gum is. It's a thickener. It's found in so many different products, okay? It is a sugary slime produced by bacteria. That's what xanthan gum is. So when this sugary slime is ingested by you, it goes into your gut, your intestine, it feeds on bacteria in your gut, not in a good way. So 3/4 of your immune system, by the way, is in your gut. You affect what's there, you affect your body. Okay, it's not good. So I started wanting to learn more about what roads have we gone down in the United States with general food safety, nutrition. And I went back to the 1950s. Dwight David Eisenhower was the president at that time, and he had a heart attack. And rather than sweeping it under the carpet, saying it never happened, he wanted to do the opposite. He wanted to expose this because a lot of World War II vets were dropping dead at the age of about 30 at that time, mid-30s, and a lot of them were dying from heart attacks. Personally, I think it was from PTSD from the war, but they wanted to find the boogeyman. So they did a lot of studies, and they found out that it was saturated fats and cholesterol. How about that? Have we heard that today? How many people have said, I'm cutting down on my saturated fats? That's in everyone's lexicon of everyone's diet. As a matter of fact, 54% of physicians to this day say that is the reason that your cholesterol level's up, because what you eat. Guess what? It's not true. Never has been true. Okay? So the government just they just make things up. They just do things. Like, for instance, that loophole. Why do we have 3,000 chemicals in our food? Because it's something known as GRAS, G-R-A-S, generally recognized as safe. So the government, in its infinite wisdom in the 20s, decided that, and it was for good reason. So if you were doing food back then, you would have you have to go to the FDA every time you added ingredient. If you add vinegar or salt, and it would have slowed everything down. So they gave a loophole saying, okay, this is generally recognized as safe. That's why there's 3,000 plus chemicals in our foods. But again, they had to find a boogeyman back in the 50s. So they said it was that. They did studies which were garbage. The studies were garbage on saturated fats. They cherry-picked them. In other words, they would pick a population base that they know would skew the outcomes, and that's what they did, okay? So back in 1972, a British scientist who was very highly regarded by the name of John Yudkin came around, looked at all the data, and said, you know what, this was not because of saturated fats, it's because of sugar. Sugar is the culprit causing all this, heart risk and everything that's from sugar. It's not from saturated fats. Well, he was just shouted down very quickly. Back then, nothing has changed. You either tout the line, saturated fats, or we're going to cancel you. So he had an adversary by the name of Dr. Keyes. Dr. Keyes, he ran probably, a lot of the studies had to go through him. So if you were a scientist back then, this is even in the late 60s, it's called collective thought. Not different than today. You want to get the study, you want to get the grant. Oh, I want to do it on the risk of sugar. No, you're not. No, we're not going to fund you. You're going to do it on saturated fats like everybody else. Get in line or you won't be paid. So this Dr. Fauci, he went along. Did I say Dr. Fauci? Collective thought. I meant to say Keyes. Isn't that a slip of the tongue? Probably not. But here you go. So this Dr. Keyes back then, they decided that, no, it's saturated fat is the enemy. Okay? And if you didn't tote the line, they were going to fund you. Well, guess what? We know differently now. Remember I told you fact? I'm not making this up. This is fact. The National Library of Medicine, they hold a lot of journals. One of them is Current Opinions in Endocrinology. February 2023, they went back and looked at all those studies that were done on saturated fats. Guess what they found out? What a surprise. No effect on cardiovascular disease. No effect on cardio mortality and morbidity. So guess what? Saturated fats was not the culprit. Okay, they went back and they said, you know what? This was a bunk. This was a lie. There were emails that were out that were still trying to diffuse the evidence. They didn't want this going out. So I'm not saying going out and just swallow down all this cholesterol and fats. I mean, it's not good for you. Everything in your body is homeostasis. It's equilibrium. It's a balance. Let's talk about cholesterol. Remember, it wasn't too many years ago. We got to cut down your eggs. Don't eat too many eggs. Well, guess what? Another lie, okay? Your liver produces cholesterol. And if you don't have enough of it, it produces it. If you have more, it doesn't produce it. So it's called homeostasis, okay? Equilibrium. And that's what your body wants. Even today, though, 54% of doctors think there's a direct correlation to what you eat and your rate of heart disease. Not true. So much of what we've heard, what we've been fed, is not true. And I want to get back to that linkage I told you earlier about sweeteners. That's where I think the sticky widget is, because that sugar train is starting to come out. People know now that sugar is a culprit. I know for certainty that there are people who have stage 4 cancers, and cancers feed on sugar. And there are people who cut sugars out of their diet, and it really had a dramatic effect on their overall survival and their cancer. And that's been proven. So let's go down the road of artificial sweeteners, which to me is fascinating. That's where I think today's cover-up and conspiracy really is. The first one was developed in 1879, no less, at Johns Hopkins University by accident. A fellow was there in a lab, and he was looking for uses for coal tar. Coal tar. Doesn't sound very good. But he came across that, hey, this tastes sweet. So in 1901, it was brought to commercial market by everyone's favorite company, Monsanto. How about that? So they reared their head with saccharin in 1901. Well, back in 1907, physicians around the country were saying, this is toxic. We're seeing a lot of problems with our patients who are using this saccharin. It's no good. So they want to ban it. But Teddy Roosevelt was in office then, and Teddy was, remember Teddy was kind of a chunky guy? Teddy went on a diet. And he says, no, I'm doing very well on this diet, and saccharin is why. Well, so he refused to ban. It was finally banned, though, in 1912. Okay? But during the outbreak of World War I, it was brought back on because of sugar shortages in the nation. So banned, toxic, brought back on. There we go. So let's move forward a little bit. Back in the 1950s, there was a soda boom. Again, 1950s, Eisenhower. You know what? I'm thinking, is there a correlation here, Eisenhower? Didn't he sign that treaty with the intergalactic of the aliens? So are the aliens behind all this? Right. Okay, there's a third of you in the audience right now that are saying, go, 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 go. All right, not going to go there. It's fun. Kick it around yourself. I just want to have a little fun. Can have fun, right? But there was a soda boom in the 1950s. The next artificial sweetener out was called cyclamate. It was actually developed, again, by accident in 1937 by one of these idiots who was in a lab and put his finger in his mouth. It's not a good idea to do in a lab, putting your finger in your mouth. But he tasted this ingredient. He said, this tastes sweet. What is this? So all of you know this as Sweet and Low. Remember Sweet and Low? And the famous pink thing? Well, originally that was made of cyclamate. Okay, but they found out in 1968 when at that time, the usage was over 17 million pounds. What a surprise! It causes cancer. So in 1968, they banned cyclamate. Okay, so they had to go back to saccharin. Okay, they went back to saccharin, which remember was originally banned, but wasn't because of World War I. So here comes one. No, it's no good. Let's go back to saccharin. So then Sweet and Low went back to saccharin. Okay, so in 1965, you have another one came on board. There was another doctor who, again, tasted his finger. There's something about tasting of fingers here. There's a pattern, isn't there? Anyhow, they were looking at an ulcer drug. And again, this scientist said, this is awful sweet. How about that? So this is aspartame. Aspartame, isn't it? Aspartame, yeah. And, in 1974, they decided that causes brain cancer. Another one that causes cancer. How about that? That's strange. So they had to revise it. And they did. And it came back on the market in 1981 as NutraSweet after some revisions. Okay? Speeding the clock forward, we have now Splenda. Remember Splenda? You can bake with it 600 times as sweet as sugar. That's disgusting. This one is actually a partial metabolite, which means that it does have some calories. But again, you can bake with it, so that's a good trade-off, huh? This is a combination of sucrose and everyone's favorite chemical, chlorine. I don't know. That sounds weird. The next one coming up is called Neotame. So where am I going with all this? A lot of these chemicals, artificial sweeteners, they're there, okay? They're not good. They are here in every continent in the world. Where something's been banned, GMO's been banned, certain things been banned. The sugar boogeyman's out now. The boogeyman is not out on these artificial sweeteners. I'll ask you folks to do one thing. You think, well, he's nuts, and you're probably right. But if you go test these artificial sweeteners, do this. Go to the internet, go on all their Dr. Google, and type in dangers of artificial sweeteners. I did that. Guess what I found? Page after page after page. Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Johns Hopkins, every site known to man. Oh, that's crazy. They're safe. There's been no correlation, well, that we know of. No correlation, no confirmed studies in humans. Yeah, of course there were in animals, but animals aren't humans. And no, there's no correlation. You're a kook. You're a nut if you think there's a correlation. You can't find anything. Maybe if you go maybe page 65 when you look for stuff, you go look it up. Okay? You can't find anything on artificial sweeteners. So, my theory is just common sense, folks. It's not what they tell you, it's what they don't tell you that you have to know. Because what they tell you is a pack of lies, right? Remember we went back over saturated fats? Okay? They lied about that. They lie about everything. They hate us. I don't know what to tell you. But do your own research. I can't conclusively say this. Obviously, I don't have any evidence in, but everything they do is to our detriment. I don't know why. It is. I can't figure it out. So that's the thing, folks. Artificial sweeteners, they can't be good. We know they're not good for you. All right. So as I do, I end up with a little, what are my rants? What are my mussings of my brains? Everyone drives, right? I drive a lot. I have over 2 million miles, and knock on the old wood there, I have never had an accident. Grace of God there. And everyone has pet peeves. A lot of people's people hate tailgating. What I hate is distracted drivers. You don't believe me? I'll do another test for you folks. Next time you stop at a red light, I don't care what red light it is, look to your right, look to your left, see what idiot is on their cell phone. They can't wait 2 seconds at a red light. Opportunity to check my email and my text messages. Oh, I can't be without it for 30 seconds. Ah! So that distracted drivers. But of course, they're not driving at that point. So I know they do it when they drive too. I have a 2020 Honda Civic. Great car, love it. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to turn it in and get a 2024. Waited forever to get this car. The dealership calls up. Hey, guess what? Your Honda Civic's in. Come down, pick it up. Oh, super. This is great. What a day. Drive down there and look at the car. I'm going, what the hell is that on the dashboard? Oh, that's your driving navigation system. It's 6 freaking inches above the dashboard. I sit there in my seat. I said, it's right there. It's looking at me. Oh yeah, well that's to help you navigate and drive and all. It's on the dashboard. It's 6 inches above the dashboard. I'm looking at my windshield and I see this big thing sitting there. At the nighttime, it's going to glow like a beacon. And he goes, well, that's what people want. Well, not me. I don't want this. It's garbage. He goes, well, that's the way things are going. You have to get used to it. No, I'm not. How can you have something that sits on the dashboard 6 inches above it and it's literally blocking your vision at the nighttime? There's no way you can tell me that you're driving down the road looking to drive from Washington to Oregon and you're looking at it and saying, oh, what's that big blue glow in front of me? Oh, it's my directions. Let me look at it as I'm driving. There's no way that's not going to distract you. I'm sorry, folks. So that's my peeve. I don't know. You wait, and if someone get in an accident, they'll cover that up. Oh, there's no correlation to people looking at their TV set while they're driving and death. No, it's none whatsoever. All right, everybody, that's how it is. For those of you in Ethiopia, don't forget, forward along those Ark of the Covenant stories. Love to hear them. Have a good week, everybody. Bob, be safe down there in the bunker. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.